Hello, everyone. It's Steve with Aptera Owners Club. This is some footage courtesy of the guys that are with a website called Aptera.solar. There is a group of mostly German Aptera enthusiasts that are trying to promote Aptera in Europe. And three of them made the trip down to this conference and got these pictures and this footage and gave it to me so that I could give it to you guys. And so I had to fix some sync issues, but other than that, this is unedited footage directly from them. Enjoy.
Audra, Chris,
Hi.
good you're here. Good
Happy
to meet
to
you
be
here
here.
at JEC in Paris. Excited to stand in front of the Bink, basically. And we'll have some questions, obviously.
Yes, excited.
Cool. So how has it been so far on this trade fair? We are having the last day. I guess it was a little bit busy.
Oh yeah, we met a lot of different reservation holders, accelerators, and lots of new people that don't know about Aptera that are in the industry and want to work with us to some extent. So it's been extremely exciting. A lot of people say it's the most exciting thing that they've seen, and there are a lot of innovative people and companies and products here. So it feels good to stand out. Not something that's new to us, but really, really great for Aptera.
Yeah, it's cool to stand out with just the Bink, because we're used to like being, you see the Gamma vehicle and oh my god, like this is incredible, but we don't even have any of the solar panels on this, but people are still equally blown away by the production aspect of it, the detail. Also, it's one of the biggest CFSMC parts ever made, so people are blown away by that too.
Nice. So what was the most asked question? What were people interested basically in?
There was a lot of question about what type of composite material this was, considering we are at this event, but it was also kind of the shape and what does this make up, and what are we doing with this vehicle because it is so different and unique. So kind of explaining to them the solar aspect of it. We have a video running at the front, and they were asking, when will they become available, and where are we located. I think with the accent you can tell we're not from here, but
I like it. That's a good answer.
All good. So let's talk a little bit about the progress, where we are, what's going on. So what's the status on the PI builds basically?
Sure, yeah. So Audra and I are going to be visiting CPC group on Monday and Tuesday next week, so we're really excited to look at the progress firsthand. But a number of CPC employees have been by the booth and kind of filling me in on things going on, which is exciting. We're hoping to see basically progress on the first 3 PI builds at CPC. So that includes some progress on the frame components. We're not expecting a completed frame just yet, but there's a lot of material science work to make the frames perfect and actually production ready. So we'll see some of that. We'll also be able to see hopefully some of the bonding process taking place at CPC. So that's where we are. Once that's done, eventually those will make their way to California, and we'll be finishing the PI builds, starting with 1, expanding from there.
All the way to 16, I guess.
all the way.
Right, that's exciting news actually that you're traveling there. We are looking forward to some updates from Italy.
Absolutely.
Definitely. Let's see if we can get some firsts here on this channel.
Yeah.
Okay, so people were asking about the UK and Australia. I heard in Australia there's a lot of sun. You might have a different situation, like too much sun and your battery is full and stuff like that. But we also know that's right-hand drive. What are your plans regarding right-hand drive versions? Because if I look at it right here, it seems like pretty symmetric. Not exactly symmetric, but almost, right?
Yeah, so right-hand drive version will come after the even homologated EU version for not the UK, not Australia countries.
Right, yeah.
So that will probably come in 2027 or so. Yeah. There isn't too much of a difference in the suspension or design, so we don't expect it to take too long. It is just having to put in the work and design, test, and validate everything for right-hand drive. But we have a ton of orders in Australia and in the UK and a whole lot of enthusiasm, so it's a key market for us to get out there.
I mean, it's cool because any market where there's too much sun means like you can, run your HVAC or whatever. Like you have, not only do you get full solar every day, but also you have so much excess that like your car can always be preconditioned. You're always ready to go. So, even in extremely hot climates like the UAE or things like that, they might not even care about the solar range. They just want their cabin preconditioned. So there's a lot of cool benefits.
Right. So a question that I even didn't write down here is like, that there is a vehicle to grid or vehicle to home possibility. How are your thoughts about this? Is Aptera planning to implement that somewhere down the road?
Yeah. It's a phase 2, so there's a lot of things that are phase 2. One of those is like the third row child seat for the 250-mile range. There's a lot of things that we have in the plans for the future. That's definitely one of the highest priority ones, because I think a lot of people would love to plug in a 40-something kilowatt hour pack to their house or power more things. So that's definitely top of mind for us for the future after we launch.
That sounds exciting. Now, looking at the Aptera at the Bink, that's a pretty lightweight thing. We were not able to lift it, probably after the show closes. Let's see. But given the weight of the Aptera, let's say we take out the battery packs. Could you give us a rough indication what the weight of the Aptera without the battery packs would be?
Yeah, and I know the pounds off the top of my head, but maybe you guys can convert it on screen for me. But vehicle weighs roughly 2,000 pounds, the whole vehicle, everything put together. The battery's roughly 560 pounds, so it's a little more than a fourth of the total weight. But then there's a lot of suspension components, the frame, so there's a lot of other things that add weight to the vehicle. But the battery's relatively low. It's still pretty heavy, but...
Right. Yeah. So when you talk about 500 pounds, I guess it's the pack with the 40 kilowatt?
Yes.
Yep. Right, and obviously the 25 will be lighter because there's less cells in, and the other cells are bigger, so a little bit more weight. But gives us a good indication. Thanks for that. Let's talk about Open Pilot. We are excited. But people here in Europe obviously are thinking about how useful is it here. So is Open Pilot also available here? How good is the quality of the maps and the driving guidelines and stuff like that?
Yeah. So I know a lot about Open Pilot. Surprise. Open Pilot's used all over the world, really. The amazing thing about it is everyone can upload data if they choose to back to Comma, and they will train a new driving model. And the driving model is a worldwide driving model, basically. Yeah. So it works in all different aspects of the world, and it can determine, based on the image, it kind of understands where it is. So it's just like how a human can drive, in Europe or the US, they can adapt. The model does the same thing. So a lot of people drive with Open Pilot in the EU, and it understands all the lane lines worldwide, which is really exciting. So in terms of maps and kind of like the end-to-end navigation aspect, I think that stuff is going to come a little later. That Comma's focused on US first with terms of turn-by-turn direction, things like that. But the best part of Open Pilot is just going on the highway and pressing a button and relaxing, and that'll work everywhere in the world. So.
That sounds great. Looking forward to it, definitely. Now, people here in Europe are quite outdoorsy, to say. So they're excited about the camping options here. And there are a few questions also regarding security there. Sure. So will we be able to sleep in the back, basically in the trunk, with the trunk lid closed? And can we open that from the inside, kinda?
Yeah.
Yes and yes.
Yeah, so when you're inside with the rear hatch closed, you'll want to be facing headfirst towards the seats, and you've got plenty of room there. I think when it's closed, you can use either the center console, your app, and then I believe there's going to be a latch also to open it up from the inside. So it'll be safely closed up, and then you can also have the cabin heated while you're sleeping, or air conditioned and running, depending on where your adventures take you. So we definitely know a lot of people are stoked on Aptera because of the rear space and being able to sleep back there, and people will use this like they would a camper van, and so we're going to make those fun.
Yeah, part of our network here in Europe is a guy who lived a few years in his RV, basically in his camper, only, nice. No home, and obviously he's interested in those options. Now charging, the NACS, or North American Charging Standard or something like that, basically the evolution from Tesla, was chosen because of its size and because it's not so clunky. We understand this, but the specifications here in Europe are different. We have the so-called Type 2 or Mennekes plug for AC, and we have a little bit modified version with the CCS Type 2 as well, which is even more clunky than the US version, right? So what are your plans, or are there any plans regarding charging plugs and stuff like that for Europe?
Yeah, part of the homologation process that we're going to need to go through is, to sell, you really need to have the right charging plug for the region. You wouldn't want to carry an adapter around. So Aptera in Europe will have to have CCS2, and we have to find a place to strategically put it on the vehicle. There's a way to put it behind the license plate if we, align it a certain way, or potentially move it to the logo. There's a few options that we're considering for international, but it will have to fit somewhere. Yes, the very clunky plug will fit somewhere.
Yeah, or I know you're driving a Model S. You mentioned that before in the video, so do I. An early model, and I do have the adapter there as well. So that's available for that would be an option as well. Let's see what you decide on doing, basically. Talking about number plates, actually a good segue you provided. Where would be this number plate on the front and on the back? Because number plates here in Europe are also a little bit bigger depending on the states compared to what state in the US you compare it to. But on the front, maybe that would fit. Is there any plan to put it on the back side? Because the back side is thin horizontally and vertically.
I think with the laws and regulations of the EU, we will have to make a version that does meet those standards. So whatever that looks like, it will probably be on the rear for sure, and be a little bit larger. But
it's like an adapter plate, right? To make this thin part thick for the license plate out back. And in the front, obviously, it's going to need to be there. We'll need to maybe chop off the nose so it's a little less of an aerodynamic hit, but it will be slightly worse. But maybe you guys can take the mirrors off to equate it out,
Oh yeah, that's indeed legal here. There are cars on the road with only cameras, no physical memories, mirrors, not memories.
There you go.
Mirrors.
You're back to zero pretty much.
Exactly. Yeah. I don't want to advertise for other car manufacturers, but I can tell you later. Okay. Talking about childs, you mentioned the third seat. That's in the plan down the road, but I don't know how the standard is in the US. We have a standard here. It's called ISOFIX. It's part of the regulation, if I'm correct. Will there be or is there a plan to be able to mount a child seat to the passenger seat?
I mean, I'm sure you could, obviously. I think in the US, the laws are interesting with an auto cycle. Because it's an auto cycle, you're not supposed to have childs in the vehicle. But in Europe, if that's, with how we homologated, if that ends up not being a thing, then there's absolutely would be a way to disable the airbag for that situation. But in the US, it's not really a use case. So it's something we're going to have to look into once we get over here.
Right. So you answered already my next question, which is like deactivating the airbag. That would have been my next question. Yeah. So sales in Europe, how are you approaching it? Are you only trying to do it through the internet? Is it through partners you are looking for? What's the approach here?
Yeah, you got it.
Well, we would aspire to have service providers that are throughout the world, and we want to partner with different organizations or groups that have already established infrastructure. And we think once we're farther along, there will be a lot of people open to working with us. So you can bring your Aptera in and set an appointment, an easy thing, so that it's safe and it's done by a professional with all of our demonstrations, and we can train those people. But
he was talking about dealerships, but I think you're answering one of his future questions, maybe about service.
Yeah, exactly.
So we're going to be primarily direct to consumer, and we're trying to consistently do that. So kind of the Tesla experience where you buy it online and they can deliver it to your house. That's the ideal. But Aptera's not adverse to working with local distributors or dealers as well. So there's probably going to be a mix of both, depending on what fits the best. In the US, there's a lot of weird laws and ways to do it. Sometimes, you need to get a delivery on native land, because that's how you can avoid regulations in a certain state or another state. There's a lot of complications, but ideally it's a mix of both.
Yep.
I hope we're easier here in Europe.
Oh, yeah.
That's the beauty of Europe.
That's great. I love it.
Okay. So my next question, you partially answered it already. So you're not going for an approach, one Aptera fits the whole world and homologation has to adapt, but you are willing to adapt the Aptera to some extent, watching the financials obviously, to the specific markets. You're tailoring it, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. We think once, we're a year or so into deliveries in the United States and we start, showing everyone globally like, hey, Aptera's here to stay, we'll be able to copy paste our final assembly facility, have that design, a homologated design ready, and actually hopefully go from CPC group to that final assembly facility set up with the automated guided vehicles, and just so that we can keep it a sustainable delivery practice and continue working with people internationally without having to have such of a bridge gap between the two. So that's kind of our goal, that's the vision, and maybe that's in Germany or maybe it's we shall see.
Yeah, that's good.
Cool. I love the Germany comment here, obviously. Which brings me to my more or less last question, which is how can the community here in Europe best support Aptera at this point, and probably also helping to bring the car over to Europe?
Yeah, sure. I mean, we're still actively trying to spread the word about the Aptera. That's the biggest thing. So many people in this show, I'd say almost nobody knew what Aptera was, and this was their first introduction to it. So I can't even imagine what that's like all around the world. In the US, people already barely know about it, and we market there all the time. We have ads. We do so many things to try to get the word out about Aptera. But such an innovative idea, and there's so much to explain. So I think everyone, in Europe, just talking to their friends and kind of making that grassroots effort to get more knowledge about the vehicle. I think that's the biggest thing.
I think also when it comes to the accelerator program, I talked to someone from the Czech Republic, someone from the Netherlands, and the big question is, elephant in the room, how I pick up my vehicle, how do I get it to my country? And it's amazing that we have several a large group, 50 I think international accelerators in Europe that we want to get together and to collaborate, to work with us, to work with each other, to understand how to make that process seamless, easy as possible, and so that you're not just kind of alone figuring it out. But we appreciate people that are doing the legwork while we're working as hard as we can to get to production and finish the design, so that it's easier to step into the homologation, to start that process. So everyone,
everything you guys are doing, everyone that it's all really important to Aptera.
It is.
So, our resources can be focused on getting the vehicle to production. That's just the most important thing for the world. So we're 100% laser focused, as you can see here today. We're getting really close. Really exciting progress. But yeah, any help for the future, we'll reach out and really be a community effort to get this thing around the world.
Yeah, staying in tight communications with us too along the way. So thank you.
Oh, we happily will, definitely. We are Aptera.solar. We are building up the European network here, and everybody's invited to join us. We're in direct touch, and we keep in touch and see how we can accelerate getting Aptera to Europe. So, thank you so much, Audra.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so yeah, this is, I think this QR code, if you scan it, probably goes to the website Aptera.solar. They're also having this event on May 4th, 2024. It'll be in person as well as online. So if you want more information, I'll link those links below. And here is their website, Aptera.solar. Okay, thanks for watching, guys. Have a great day.